Hello, and welcome to the Back to School Barbecue. Today I'm going to show you how to make rosemary potato salad. So for this recipe, you'll need about 5 or 6, I have 7, medium Yukon Gold potatoes. Yukon Gold probably works the best. You could use russet potatoes. They can get a little bit crumbly, so just if you use russet potatoes, just be aware of that, but they'll still work. You're gonna need some eggs, and if you want to make vegan potato salad, you can just skip the eggs. Some pickles, and you can use dill pickles or sweet pickles. 2 or 3 stalks of celery. And then for the dressing, you'll need fresh or bottled lemon juice, mayo or vegan mayo, salt, horseradish, a couple sprigs of fresh rosemary, and just a little bit of onion. This is actually more than I'll need. So the first step is you want to boil your potatoes for about 20 to 25 minutes until you can stick a fork or a knife into them easily. So I'm just going to take my potatoes over. My water is already boiling, so I'm just going to use a slotted spoon to gently put them in the water. And then I'm going to set my timer for 23 minutes. And then in a separate pot, I'm going to boil 4 eggs for 10 minutes, so they're hard boiled. So I'm going to use my slotted spoon to put these in. And I'll come check these in 10 minutes. Okay, so my eggs are done boiling. So I'm just going to turn off my burner, and I'm going to drain these into a strainer. And I can just run a little bit of cool water over them to help them cool down a little bit. And then they're still pretty hot, so I'm just gonna let them cool down a little bit before I peel them. Okay, so my timer just went off on my potatoes, and I actually want to check these. So if I can poke a fork through pretty easily, then I should be ready. And those look pretty good, so I'm just going to take them out and put them in a strainer. And I want to let these cool off a little bit. I'm going to peel them while they're still warm, but obviously right now they're going to be too hot. So I'm just going to set these aside for a little bit and let them cool down in a nice safe place. And while I wait for those to cool down, I can start getting some of my other ingredients ready. So I'm gonna make the dressing. And I'm gonna want 1 1/4 cups of my mayo or vegan mayo. So I'm just gonna use a separate bowl to mix my ingredients together. And the nice thing about potato salad is that it's easy to change the recipe to your taste, so you can switch out some of the ingredients to make it vegan. Obviously, if you don't like something, you can leave it out. Like if you don't like horseradish, you don't have to add that. If you like other things, you can add those. Like, this is kind of a basic recipe, but you could add radishes or capers or olives or even some blue cheese or bacon if you're a meat eater. So it's pretty versatile, and if you need to feed a lot of people, you can just make a bigger recipe and make a big batch if you go to an actual barbecue one day in the future, or if you have a really big family, or if you just want leftovers, if you really like potato salad. Okay, so now I'm going to add some lemon juice. So I'm going to add about a tablespoon of lemon juice. And a tablespoon of horseradish. And then I want a teaspoon of salt. I'm just going to eyeball it. And then I also want to add a little bit of grated onion. So I have this grater that's good for like Parmesan cheese. I'm just going to grate a little bit in there. And when I grate it, it just kind of turns to mush, so I'm just going to scrape it off the back there and stir that in. Okay, and then my recipe calls for some relish, but since I have these nice pickles here, I'm just going to use these. Since relish is made of pickles, there's no reason why I can't just substitute these. So I'm just going to chop these up into small little squares, like the size of relish. And then I'm going to use a couple sprigs of fresh rosemary. So I just want to strip this off the stick here. And then I'm just going to chop this up into really small little pieces. Okay, and I want to make sure to use fresh rosemary because that's what's going to give it my really good flavor. So I'm just going to add most of this to my dressing, and then I'm going to save a little bit to sprinkle on the top right before I serve this. And I'm just going to mix that in really well. And then I'll set this to the side. And when my potatoes are ready, I will mix everything together. Okay, so while I'm waiting for my potatoes to cool, I can just chop up the rest of my ingredients. So I'm going to do my celery, and I just want to chop this into really small squares, like the pickle size pieces. So I'm just going to slice it up. And then I'm just going to slice it the other way. And if I keep my hand on the top of my knife like this, then I don't have to worry about getting my finger under the blade while I cut. So I can just kind of go over everything a couple times and make sure it's in nice small pieces. And this is probably going to be actually a little bit more than I need. So I can judge how much I'll need after I chop up my potatoes, but I'll just keep this in a separate bowl for now. Then I can peel my eggs. So I'm just going to give these a gentle tap and break the shell up a little bit. And then my skin should peel off hopefully pretty easily. Some eggs are a little easier to peel than others, so looks like I lucked out this time. And then if I get a little bit of the shell on my egg, if it breaks into small pieces, sometimes little bits of the shell stick to it. So I can just rinse it under cold water to make sure I don't have those pieces on there. Okay, and then when I chop up my eggs, I don't want them in too small of pieces because I want this nice egg texture. So I'm just gonna chop them up into medium sized pieces. And then I can chop up some more pickles. Okay, so my potatoes are cool enough to handle. They're still a little bit warm. They're still pretty warm, but not too hot. So what I want to do is just peel these with my fingers, and the skin should just slide off really easily. If I just squeeze it a little bit and get it started, then I can peel the rest off. Okay, so once I have the skins off, I'm just gonna cut these up, and I want them to be in kind of bite-sized pieces. So about a 1/2 inch or so. And they're pretty soft. I probably don't need a knife this sharp. I just already have this one dirty. So if you want to use like just a butter knife to cut these, or a like plastic knife for cutting lettuce, it might be a little bit safer. But I like to cut a couple of slices this way and then turn them and do a couple more slices. And that should give me nice bite-sized pieces for my salad. And I want them to be all a pretty similar size, but they don't have to be exactly the same. And then I'll start putting them into my big bowl. And you don't want to overcook your potatoes because then they'll just start kind of crumbling apart. So 23 minutes is what I cook these for. It might vary a little bit if your potatoes are a little bit bigger or smaller, but I find that for these medium potatoes, that's like the perfect time. Okay, so once I have my potatoes chopped up, I can start adding my other ingredients. So I'm gonna add my eggs and pickles and my celery, and that'll probably be a good amount. I just wanted to make sure I didn't have too much after I chopped up my potatoes. And then I'm gonna stir in my dressing, and it might seem like a lot of dressing, but the potatoes will soak up a lot. So you always want to use a little bit more than you think you'll need. And then when I mix this, I'm gonna mix it really gently because I don't want to break up my potatoes too much. So I'm just gonna kind of try to scoop from the bottom and almost like I'm folding it together, and just get the dressing coating on the potatoes a little bit. And then my ingredients that I dumped on top should just naturally mix in. Okay, so now that this is all mixed together, I could either serve it right away, or if I want my flavors to mix together really well, I would recommend refrigerating it. overnight, and then you can just take it out and stir it up right before you serve it. And then whenever you're gonna serve it, you can put the rest of your rosemary, just sprinkle it on top for a nice presentation. And of course, this is a lot, so this is just for 2 people. So we might eat some now, and then we could have the rest tomorrow after it soaks all the flavors together really well. But this should make a pretty tasty rosemary potato salad. So I hope you liked my video. Thanks for watching.